So again, its list is also called a sequence and arranges all the elements in a consecutive locations in memory. What do I mean by that? Let me pull up the whiteboard. So suppose we have this memory. Assume this is your computer memory and this is our piece of code, whatever the name is, dot pi. So when you define, let's say x equal 5, y equal 10, a equals maybe 73. So these values are actually created in a memory. So memory may be considered as a place where data is stored, and every data that we store has a specific address. Okay, address means just like this campus, every classroom has a specific address. Like we are holding this class in a classroom 305. Okay, so you exactly know where 305 would be located. So if I were to ask you like where the CSE 1010 lecture is going on, somebody can tell you that it is being held in 305. Okay, similarly, when we talk about x equal 5, so we might be interested in determining where this value 5 is stored. It is stored at certain location which Python has named as x. Okay, so that memory locations are nothing but, again, some numbers. Okay, so x may be stored at, let's say x is stored here, y might be placed here randomly. Okay, a is placed here, memory locations. Okay, so when we talk about lists, we are talking about the list. So when we say, let's say ages equal 12, 13, let's say 60. So this is a data structure that we have just initialized, ages, and it will hold the consecutive memory locations in a computer. Okay, so it would be declared as, like, for example, let's say it reserved this space. So ages is this, all the data stored in a memory would be a consecutive memory locations. Okay, so this is what I meant when I say the data is stored in a consecutive memory locations. Make sense? Okay, great. Let me go back. Okay, so let's proceed ahead. Elements are ordered by position in the list and can be accessed using elements index starting at 0, which means that if I have a list like this, so let's say this is a list which has a name prices, and it contains the prices, let's say $20, 14.9, 5. So if I have to access any particular element in this list, and if I know which element I want to access, so let's say if I have to starting at index 0 means, so this value is placed at, it has an address, which is what we call the first element is always a 0th index. Okay, so the index of this element is 0. The index of the second element, so index of the first element is 0, index of the second element is 1, index of the third element is 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if I say that this is the price, and prices is stored in a memory in consecutive memory locations, as I said, and index is for this one is 0, 1, 2, and so on. So a list index, if I have to access let's say the first element, I can specify that index and I will get the value stored at that index. Okay, so whenever I want to access an element, so for example here prices, so prices is the name of the list, the name of the data structure. 1 is what I am specifying as an index. So what it will do is it will go to the memory, it will read the data stored at this index 1, and it will return that value, which is 14.9 here. Okay, so when I say access the index, access the value stored at index 2, which means that I'm asking to retrieve a value stored at index 2. Okay, and it will return the value 5. Make sense? And if I say what is the second element, and if you are saying, if So it's better to follow the same convention. The first element is always considered as the 0th element, okay, and so on and so forth. So you will not get confused. So when I say 0th element, I would be talking about the first element actually, okay. So similarly, price is 0 would return the value stored at the 0th index. Index can also be an expression, okay. We can also have, let's say my list is the name of the list. It could be prices according to this example, and I can specify I plus 1. This will help us iterate in the elements in the list. So if, for example, if I say that the I have to read the data for data of students sitting in the first 3 rows, okay, and I know that maybe the first 2 seats are occupied by some faculty or staff, I would like to bypass those values, okay. So what I can do, being a programmer, I can start off the value with value of I with let's say 1, and every time I would access the so when I say I equals 1 and I'm accessing the element 1 plus 1, which is second element, okay. So I'm actually bypassing the first 2 elements, okay. And then what I need to do is I need to increment the value of I and then access run this statement again in order to access the next element, okay. This will make more clear when we proceed ahead learning the loops, okay. Any question? Good. So updating list element, how can we update the list elements? So lists are mutable, first of all. What does that mean? So mutability means like you can change the element, change the values of the elements. You can, the list can grow or shrink, which means that we can keep on adding the elements in the list. We can also remove the elements from the list. We can also modify the elements, okay. So example, suppose this is a list mynums 5, 12, 20, and if you print this list, it will give you 5, 12, 20. I'll give you a demo as well. So updating a list element, we specify the index and the new value. So for example, here my underscore nums1 equals minus 28. What I'm doing is updating the value of the element placed at the index number 1. So this value will be updated from 12 to minus 28, okay.